Hello class. In this little series of videos I'm about to create, I'm going to show you how to take a Revit model and make it into like an exploded axon or a section perspective. I know in class and other times I've said Revit is not my preferred design tool, but it is really great for construction documentation. And although the rendering stuff is okay, one of its greatest features for presentation drawings is the way that it does section boxes, the ability to sort of break your building apart, especially three-dimensionally, to represent it in really beautiful and interesting ways. So this is an intro video, but I'm going to have a series of videos that sort of follow through with all the steps. Let's say one of the things is I don't have a Revit model of the house I typically use, so I've just pulled up the one that Autodesk provides, the house that they have, so I'll use that for most of the video. You will see in the Photoshop sections I'll switch over to the house I typically use that I use in Photoshop. So ignore that view there. Over time, I think I don't have much Revit content generally, and over time I'd like to include more Revit content. But you know, it'll take time to get there, but certainly this is the most important, or I think one of the most beneficial tools of using Revit. Of course, a lot of the things that are gone over, we're still going to go over basic rendering techniques and so on and so forth. So if you have a model for anything, you can use some of the later videos to make the rendering and figure out how to pull it into SketchUp and so on and so forth. What this video is not, it is not how to model a house or build a house in Revit. I know my students have other classes in it. Again, myself and other faculty are working to probably increase the video content on that stuff. I can't cover that at this time, but I expect students having other classes in it and experience to go and build the model themselves from their CAD drawings that they've developed over the course of the first part of the semester using basic Revit stuff. Now, I don't care. When I'm building a construction model for construction documentation, of course, my walls are going to have details with what they're broken up, you know, studs and how thick the studs, how much insulation, what the exterior material is, and so on and so forth. For this project, I think it's perfectly fine to use generic walls, generic floors, and generic roofs of the appropriate thickness, and then just go ahead and paint on material. So we're not going to be doing details from it, so that doesn't matter. So the quickest way to make a model like you see here again is to use generic walls, generic floors, generic ceilings, roofs, whatever you're using, and just paint on the materials. This model came with the site. I don't care if your project doesn't necessarily need to have the site. If it doesn't have site work for this assignment, that's perfectly fine too. If it does, as you'll see, it also will be perfectly fine to use as well. If you are having trouble with your Revit model, the last thing I'll say on that is just to come and see me. I mean, ultimately practice makes perfect, and so I think it's good to push yourself making this. But if you need to go ahead and ask questions from me about maybe you're getting stuck on your house on how to build it before you can even get to the rendering steps I'm going to talk in this series, go ahead and ask me, because getting the model done is important. But again, generally I expect students to already know how to do this. What I will do is I'll follow up this video with how to apply materials in your Revit, because that might be an outstanding question and one that might not have gone over too much in building a standard model. So we'll do that. So there'll be a little bit of Revit work there. But then again, most of the videos will just be on setting up and rendering and you know, creating a presentation drawing, as this class is primarily focused on. So with that long introduction without any real skills, I'll move on to the next video with real content.